All right, volume up, lights on, crowd noise in the background. This is not a fairy tale. This is not a polite debate on social media. This is America. Right now, scrolling at 2 a.m., buying concert tickets with shaky hands, streaming the same song on repeat while pretending it's just background music, and somewhere in that chaos, one question keeps popping up in comment sections, group chats, reaction videos, and even late-night talk shows. Who's actually the most popular BTS member in America right now? Not who has the best vocals, that fight never ends. Not who's the most handsome, that's a dangerous question to ask online. This is about presence, impact, name recognition, who Americans talk about even when they don't follow K-pop, who trends without trying, who shows up on playlists next to Drake and Taylor Swift and somehow doesn't feel out of place. And here's the tricky part. Popularity in America doesn't work like popularity anywhere else. It's not just album sales, it's memes, interviews, fashion moments, viral clips, late-night TV laughs, stadium screams, and that one friend who says, "I don't even like K-pop, but," and then proceeds to talk for 10 minutes straight. So today, we're not crowning a king lightly. We're counting down, slowly, dramatically, maybe a little chaotically, through the members of BTS and how their presence right now hits the American scene. No spoilers, no fan war bait, just vibes, facts, receipts, and a bit of humor. Because, let's be honest, BTS themselves would roast us if we took this too seriously. Let's start the countdown.
Number 7. RM, the intellectual backbone. When people in America talk about popularity, they usually mean volume. Who screams the loudest, who trends the fastest, who dominates the thumbnail. RM doesn't play that game, and that's exactly why his popularity in the US moves differently. He's not the member casual viewers immediately latch onto for visuals or viral dance clips, but he's the one Americans respect once they stay long enough to actually listen. RM's presence in America feels less like a pop explosion and more like a slow cultural imprint. He's the member music journalists quote without hesitation, the one late-night hosts lean into for real conversation, the one Western artists reference when talking about BTS as musicians, not just idols. In a country that prides itself on being real, RM's intelligence, self-awareness, and unapologetic honesty resonate deeply, even if it doesn't always show up as screaming headlines. In the US, RM is often the first BTS member Americans hear speak at length, and that moment matters. Fluent English, sharp humor, and a calm confidence that never feels rehearsed, he immediately disrupts stereotypes. Suddenly, the narrative shifts. He's not just a rapper in a boy band. He's a thinker, a leader, someone who can discuss art, identity, pressure, and success without sounding detached or pretentious. American audiences value articulation, especially when it comes with humility, and RM balances both effortlessly. He doesn't try to dominate conversations, he elevates them. And in America, where interviews can feel shallow and repetitive, that depth sticks. Musically, RM's popularity operates on a different frequency. His solo work doesn't chase radio trends, it challenges listeners. And surprisingly, that works in his favor in the US market, where there's a strong lane for introspective, lyric-driven artists. Critics often frame him alongside respected hip-hop and alternative figures, not as a novelty, but as a peer. His lyrics get dissected on Reddit threads, Genius annotations, and long-form YouTube essays, places where American fans go when they want meaning, not just vibes. That kind of engagement doesn't always go viral overnight, but it builds something stronger: credibility. Then there's his role as leader. Americans love leadership stories, especially ones built on responsibility rather than ego. RM carries the image of someone who didn't just rise to fame, but carried others with him. He speaks openly about pressure, mistakes, burnout, and doubt, which makes him relatable in a culture that increasingly values vulnerability. He's not selling perfection, he's offering reflection. And for many American fans, especially older listeners or creatives, RM becomes the entry point into BTS. He's the, oh, they're actually serious artists moment. Fashion-wise, RM doesn't scream trendsetter, but that's the point. His style reads intellectual, grounded, museum core before museum core was even a thing. In the US, where fashion is as much about identity as it is about aesthetics, RM's image aligns with creatives, writers, designers, and music heads who don't chase hype but define taste quietly. He's not the loudest in the room, but people notice when he speaks, when he drops music, when he shows up. So yes, RM lands at number 7 not because he lacks popularity in America, but because his popularity doesn't rely on noise. It's built on trust, respect, and long-term influence. He's the member Americans might not shout about first, but he's often the reason they stay. Number 6, Jin, the unexpected charmer. In America, popularity often comes from being loud, edgy, or constantly viral, and Jin breaks that formula almost out of spite. His popularity in the US doesn't explode in chaos, it sneaks up on people. One moment, casual viewers think they figured him out as the funny one, and the next, they're stuck re-watching his performances, interviews, and live stages, wondering how they missed that. Jin's American appeal is built on surprise, and Americans love nothing more than realizing they underestimated someone. That realization hits hard with Jin. At first glance, US audiences meet his humor. His dad jokes land awkwardly and then somehow loop back around to being hilarious. Late-night hosts love him because he doesn't force laughs. He commits, fully. In a culture that respects confidence, especially the kind that doesn't take itself too seriously, Jin shines. He'll walk into a room knowing exactly how handsome he is, announce it without shame, and then immediately undercut it with self-deprecating humor. That balance makes him approachable in a way that feels very American sitcom core. He's the guy who looks like a leading man but acts like he's in on the joke, and that disarms people fast. But here's where Jin's popularity really grows in the US: vocals and presence. When Americans actually sit through a full performance, especially live, the narrative flips. Jin's voice carries emotion in a way that feels familiar to Western ballad culture. There's a sincerity there that connects instantly, especially with listeners who grew up on power ballads and stadium anthems. His solo work doesn't scream for attention, it invites it. And American fans, once they notice, tend to lock in emotionally. He becomes the comfort pick, the "I didn't expect to love him this much" favorite. Culturally, Jin represents something refreshing in the American entertainment space, a male idol who isn't afraid of softness, humor, or emotional openness without losing confidence. He talks openly about self-worth, insecurity, and growth, but never in a heavy-handed way. It feels conversational, like advice from someone who's been through it and decided not to become bitter. That resonates strongly in the US, where authenticity often matters more than polish. Even his military absence amplified his popularity in America. Instead of fading, his image solidified. Fans rewatched content, rediscovered performances, and realized how much emotional glue he brought to the group. His return felt less like a comeback and more like a reunion with someone people didn't realize they missed that much. And in the US, absence doesn't always make hearts grow fonder, but when it does, it hits deep. So Jin lands at number 6 not because he's quiet, but because his popularity works sideways. He's not always the first name Americans shout, but he's often the one they grow attached to over time. The charm creeps in, stays comfortable, and before they know it, they're defending him in comment sections like it's a full-time job.
Number 5. J-Hope, the sunshine that sneaks up on you. In America, confidence is loud, but joy is unforgettable. And J-Hope's popularity in the US lives exactly in that space where joy becomes power. At first, American audiences often meet him as the happy one, the energy boost, the guy who laughs the loudest and dances like his body runs on its own battery. But the longer people watch, the more they realize J-Hope isn't just bringing fun, he's controlling the entire atmosphere. And that's when his popularity levels up. J-Hope's American appeal is rooted in performance. The US understands stage presence instinctively, and the moment he steps forward, it clicks. His dance style doesn't feel rehearsed, it feels lived in. Hip-hop foundations, street influence, and rhythm that looks effortless but hits with surgical precision. American dancers, choreographers, and performance reactors constantly single him out, not because he's flashy, but because he's correct. He moves like someone who respects the culture he's drawing from, and in America, that respect matters. A lot. Then there's his solo music. J-Hope doesn't chase trends, he bends them. His sound pulls from old-school hip-hop, funk, and experimental beats that feel familiar to American ears, but still fresh. When his solo projects dropped, US critics didn't treat them like idle side quests, they reviewed them seriously. Festival appearances cemented his credibility even further. In America, performing solo on a major stage without hiding behind a group is a test, and J-Hope passed it with confidence, sweat, and a grin that said, "Yeah, I know exactly what I'm doing." Fashion is another quiet weapon. J-Hope's style reads fearless in a way Americans admire. He doesn't dress to blend in, he dresses to express. Bold colors, oversized silhouettes, vintage references, unexpected combinations. In the US, where fashion is deeply tied to individuality, his choices feel authentic rather than costume-like. Designers respect that. Stylists study it. Fans copy it. He becomes a reference point without ever announcing himself as one. But what truly seals J-Hope's popularity in America is emotional range. Beneath the sunshine image is discipline, vulnerability, and seriousness about craft. When Americans discover that contrast, the joy paired with relentless work ethic, it reframes everything. He's not positive because he's naive, he's positive because he chooses to be. And that hits hard in a culture obsessed with hustle and burnout. So J-Hope lands at number 5, not because he demands attention, but because once he has it, he keeps it. He's the member Americans might smile at first, and then, quietly, deeply, respect. Number 4. V, the viral magnet. In America, attention is currency, and V prints it without even trying. His popularity in the US runs on moments, not carefully planned moments, not overly polished ones, but those split seconds where he turns his head, changes his expression, or simply exists. And suddenly the internet stops scrolling. Reaction channels freeze the frame. TikTok edits multiply like wildfire. Even people who don't know BTS by name somehow know that face. That's not strategy, that's presence. V's American appeal starts with visual impact, but it never stays there. Yes, he fits Western beauty standards so well it almost feels unfair, and yes, that opens the door fast. But what keeps Americans watching is his unpredictability. One moment he's soft-spoken and introspective, the next he's playful, strange, almost theatrical. Americans love individuality, especially when it doesn't ask for permission, and V never explains himself. He doesn't chase relatability, he lets people come to him. And paradoxically, that makes him magnetic. Musically, V connects to American audiences through texture rather than technique. His voice carries a deep, soulful tone that feels familiar to listeners raised on jazz, R&B, and indie ballads. It doesn't sound manufactured or trendy, it sounds lived in. His solo releases in particular resonate with US fans who gravitate toward mood, atmosphere, and emotion over high notes. Late-night playlists, vinyl culture, candlelit listening sessions, V fits that lane effortlessly. And in America, fitting a vibe can matter more than dominating charts. Fashion amplifies everything. V doesn't just wear clothes, he embodies eras. Vintage tailoring, retro silhouettes, art house aesthetics. In the US, where fashion and identity are deeply intertwined, his style feels intentional and cinematic. He looks like someone who walked out of a film Americans haven't seen yet, but already want to see. Designers adore him, photographers obsess over him, and casual fans repost him without knowing why they can't look away. Then there's his personality in interviews and public appearances. V doesn't perform for approval. His pauses are real. His silences feel deliberate. And in a culture overloaded with noise, that restraint stands out. Americans read it as confidence, mystery, and self-possession. He's not trying to be understood by everyone, and that makes the people who do connect feel chosen. So V lands at number 4 because his popularity in America is visceral. It's felt before it's explained. He doesn't just go viral, he lingers. And long after the clip ends, people are still asking the same question. Who is that? Number 3. Jimin, the main character energy. In America, star power isn't something you explain. It's something people feel. And Jimin's popularity in the US lives exactly in that instinctive reaction where audiences don't need context to know they're watching someone important. From the moment he steps into frame, the atmosphere shifts. Cameras love him, stages obey him, and American audiences, whether they planned to or not, lock in. Jimin doesn't ease into attention, he claims it, quietly but decisively, like someone who knows the spotlight isn't a privilege but a responsibility. What makes Jimin especially powerful in the American pop landscape is how seamlessly he fits into it without losing his identity. His performance style aligns perfectly with Western ideas of a pop icon, emotional vulnerability paired with absolute control. Americans are drawn to artists who can make pain look beautiful and intensity feel elegant, and Jimin does that with frightening consistency. His dance isn't just technical, it's narrative. Every movement feels like it's saying something, even when there are no words. And in the US, where visual storytelling is king, that translates instantly. Musically, Jimin's solo work pushed his popularity into a different tier. When his songs hit American charts, it wasn't treated like a novelty or a K-pop moment, it was treated like a pop event. Radio play, streaming dominance, chart milestones, these weren't quiet wins. They were loud confirmations that Jimin doesn't just attract fans, he commands listeners. His voice, light but emotionally charged, cuts through American playlists filled with heavy production and overconfidence. It sounds human, fragile, honest, and that honesty sticks. American media also responds strongly to Jimin's image. There's a classic pop star blueprint here, charisma, beauty, mystery, but Jimin complicates it. He's soft-spoken off stage, almost shy at times, which contrasts sharply with his explosive stage presence. Americans love that duality. It feeds the narrative of depth, of someone who transforms when the music starts. Interviews, magazine features, and behind-the-scenes clips all reinforce the same idea. Jimin is not performing a persona, he's revealing different layers of the same person. Fashion adds another dimension. Jimin's style reads refined, intentional, and emotionally expressive. In the US, where fashion often acts as shorthand for identity, his choices feel cohesive rather than flashy. He doesn't dress to shock, he dresses to fit the story he's telling. Designers recognize that, stylists study it, fans emulate it, and suddenly, Jimin isn't just influencing music fans, he's influencing taste. But what truly cements Jimin's number 3 position in America is emotional loyalty. His fans don't just admire him, they protect him, analyze him, feel with him. His performances spark essays, threads, and deep dive videos dissecting every detail. In the US, where attention is fleeting, that level of emotional investment is rare. It means people aren't just watching Jimin, they're following his journey. So Jimin stands at number 3 not because he's chasing dominance, but because dominance seems to follow him. In America, he isn't just popular, he's perceived as inevitable. Number 2. Jungkook, America's favorite obsession. If popularity in America had a heartbeat, Jungkook would be the rhythm everyone recognizes instantly, even if they don't know where it's coming from. His presence in the US goes beyond fandom lines and spills straight into the mainstream in a way that feels almost unfair. Jungkook isn't just popular, he's everywhere. On playlists curated by people who swear they don't listen to K-pop, on TikTok sounds detached from their original context, on late-night conversations that start with, "Okay, but have you seen this guy?" In America, Jungkook has crossed the invisible line between idol and pop culture fixture, and once you cross that line, there's no going back. What makes Jungkook especially powerful in the US is familiarity. He feels instantly recognizable to American audiences, even on first exposure. His vocals sit comfortably within Western pop sensibilities, clean, emotional, flexible, and radio-ready without losing soul. When his solo tracks hit American charts, they didn't feel imported, they felt native. The kind of songs that slide naturally between gym playlists, late-night drives, and background music at parties. Americans didn't need to be convinced to like his music, it already spoke their language. Performance-wise, Jungkook embodies the classic American pop star archetype, all-rounder excellence. He sings, dances, performs, adapts. There's no weak link to explain away. US audiences respect versatility, especially when it doesn't feel calculated, and Jungkook's skill set feels instinctive rather than engineered. He moves like someone who grew up absorbing pop culture from every direction, and somehow made it his own. When Americans watch him perform, the reaction isn't confusion, it's recognition. Oh, he's that guy. Then there's image. Jungkook's visual appeal fits so seamlessly into Western pop aesthetics that it almost disarms people. He doesn't look like a distant celebrity, he looks like someone America could claim. That relatability fuels obsession. Fans project endlessly onto him. Romantic lead, pop prince, edgy heartthrob, soft emotional anchor. And Jungkook never fully confirms or denies any of it. He just exists, lets the narrative swirl, and somehow stays grounded. That balance between accessibility and mystery is gasoline for American fandom culture. Social media amplifies everything. Jungkook doesn't need to speak much to dominate timelines. A short clip, a glance, a laugh, a performance snippet, and suddenly the algorithm bends. His name trends without explanation. Reaction videos multiply. Non-fans ask why everyone's talking about him. In America, where virality often replaces traditional marketing, Jungkook operates like a cheat code. But the real reason Jungkook sits at number 2 is endurance. His popularity in America doesn't spike and vanish, it sustains. Release after release, appearance after appearance, he holds attention. He's not a moment, he's a constant. And in a culture that moves on brutally fast, that kind of staying power is rare. So Jungkook claims number 2 not because he's chasing America's attention, but because America keeps giving it to him, again and again, without needing a reason.
Number 1. Suga, the unavoidable phenomenon. This is where the conversation stops being loud and starts being serious. In America right now, Suga's popularity doesn't feel like hype, it feels like weight. The kind of presence that doesn't need screaming fans or constant viral clips to prove it exists. His name shows up in places where idols usually don't. Producer credits discussions, serious music podcasts, hip-hop forums, late-night monologues that suddenly turn quiet when he speaks. Suga doesn't enter the American scene like a guest, he enters it like someone who already belongs there. What separates Suga in the US isn't just talent, it's credibility. America is ruthless about authenticity, especially when it comes to hip-hop and artistry. Flash fades fast, gimmicks get exposed, but Suga's story hits differently. A producer who built himself from nothing, a rapper who talks openly about depression, burnout, anger, success, and guilt without trying to sanitize any of it. American listeners recognize that tone immediately. It's not polished pain, it's documented survival, and that resonates deeply in a culture obsessed with real stories. Musically, Suga's impact in America stretches far beyond BTS branding. His solo work, his alter ego projects, his collaborations, they're dissected, not just consumed. Critics don't ask, is this good for an idol? They ask, is this good music? And more often than not, the answer lands firmly on yes. His production style aligns naturally with American hip-hop sensibilities, heavy beats, raw emotion, minimal, unnecessary decoration. He doesn't chase radio play, he builds worlds, and Americans respect artists who don't beg for approval. Then there's his presence in interviews. Suga doesn't perform likability. He doesn't soften his opinions to sound safe. When he talks, it's thoughtful, sometimes blunt, sometimes uncomfortable, and that's exactly why it works in the US. American audiences are tired of scripted personalities. Suga speaks like someone who's already paid the price for honesty and decided it was worth it. That attitude earns a level of respect that can't be manufactured. Even his quiet moments carry weight. When Suga is silent, people listen harder. When he releases something, it's treated as a statement, not content. His popularity in America is built on trust. Listeners believe that whatever he puts out reflects who he actually is. No masks, no characters, just intent. In a culture drowning in overexposure, restraint becomes power, and Suga uses it masterfully. What truly locks Suga into the #1 spot, though, is influence. Younger artists mention him, producers study him. Fans don't just admire him, they learn from him. His journey reframes what success looks like, especially for Asian artists navigating Western spaces without dilution. He proves you don't need to be the loudest, the flashiest, or the most digestible to dominate American respect. You just need to be undeniable. So, Suga stands at #1, not because he chases popularity, but because popularity, in America, eventually bends towards substance. And right now, no BTS member embodies that gravity more completely than Min Yoongi.
So there it is. The countdown, the chaos, the quiet power, the viral storms, and the moments that make America stop scrolling for half a second longer than usual. But if this list proved anything, it's that popularity in America isn't a single throne with one crown. It's a shifting spotlight, and BTS figured out how to stand in it 7 different ways at the same time. One member dominates charts, another dominates rooms, another dominates minds long after the music stops. Some win through joy, some through mystery, some through intellect, and some through raw honesty. And that's why the argument never ends, because depending on where you're standing in America, a different member feels like the one. What makes this moment special is that BTS didn't just break into the American market, they changed how it measures success. Popularity is no longer just numbers, it's influence, conversation, and emotional attachment. It's being talked about by people who swear they're not fans. It's being remembered when the noise fades. So ask the question again tomorrow, next month, or next year, and the order might shift. But the bigger truth stays the same. BTS doesn't need one face to represent them in America. They already became something bigger, a presence that refuses to be ignored. And America? It's still watching.